Deny the future, so you shall not live to see it.
Recently, X-Men 97 showrunner Bo DeMaio suggested a number of essential episodes from the original X-Men the Animated Series to watch before watching the X-Men 97 finale, which still has 2 more episodes left to go. As it turns out, some of these episodes are also some of the best episodes of the show. I don't want to beat around the bush and extend the intro, so let's quickly take a look at the top 10 best X-Men 92 episodes that you must watch to totally understand what's going on in X-Men 97. Before we go into our explanation, we have a small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
As the mist rises,
Night of the Sentinels, Season 1, Episode 1. In the first episode of X-Men the Animated Series, Jubilee's world is shaken by the rise of anti-mutant sentiment. After a news report, her adoptive parents consider sending him to the Mutant Control Agency, and Jubilee overhears them. But if you know anything about this young mutant, you would know that she cannot be caged. Naturally, she runs away, but it wasn't before long that a Sentinel landed on her street, before crashing into her room. All that the Sentinel achieved was scaring away Jubilee's parents, because she was nowhere to be found. Jubilee was at the mall playing arcade games. Her powers unintentionally break a machine, and the angry owner and customers chase her out of the arcade. But fortunately for her, she bumps into Storm and Rogue, who she doesn't realize are X-Men. However, they soon get attacked by a Sentinel who was after Jubilee. But Storm and Rogue engage it, while Gambit, who hears the commotion from a nearby shop, jumps into the fray to provide cover for Jubilee. When Gambit is nearly killed by the Sentinel, Jubilee fires at the robot. She does manage to draw its attention and save Gambit, but ends up taking a hit from the Sentinel's knockout gas. She runs into Cyclops before fainting. Cyclops then blasts the Sentinel, decapitating it with his optic beams. Jubilee wakes up in a hospital bed in the X-Men's infirmary. She sneaks out and spots other X-Men members, including Beast and Morph. On a TV, she sees other mutants and hears Senator Kelly's anti-mutant rhetoric. Professor X and Jean Grey discuss the mall fight when Professor X senses Jubilee's intent to escape and triggers the alarm. As Jubilee rushes to escape, she stumbles into the danger room, where Gambit and Wolverine were sparring. The young to-be X-Men totally misreads what was happening and attacks Wolverine to protect Gambit. Fortunately, Morph and Beast arrive to defuse the tension, and Storm leads Jubilee to the roof. There, Storm explains that the mansion is, in fact, a school, where mutants learn to use their powers responsibly, and that they're all led by Professor X. After the fight at the mall, Professor X hacks into the head of the downed Sentinel, and discovers that the Mutant Control Agency leaked information about Jubilee, which is how the Sentinel was able to find her. Meanwhile, Jubilee sneaks away to check on her foster parents. Before she arrives, Henry Peter Gyrick visits them. He wanted to know if they've noticed any contact between Jubilee and other mutants. Anyway, as soon as Jubilee gets off the bus near her foster parents' house, she's ambushed by a pair of Sentinels and taken down. Back at the mansion, Professor X plans an attack on the Mutant Control Agency to prevent further leaks, when Jean Grey notices that Jubilee is gone. Wolverine tracks her scent up to her parents' house, but loses it there. The X-Men land the Blackbird at the Mutant Control Agency's base, where Wolverine awaits them, having been unable to find Jubilee. Wolverine, Beast, Storm, and Morph head inside to disable the security systems. As they approach a room, they find armed guards waiting for them. Night of the Sentinels, Season 1, Episode 2. Storm, Morph, Beast, and Wolverine infiltrate the Mutant Control Agency's base, unaware of the armed guards lying in wait, but Wolverine's keen senses alert his team to the danger. Storm blasts open the door, knocking out the guards. Outside, troops arrive in vehicles, and Rogue, Cyclops, and Gambit battle them. Inside, Morph clears the file room, which allows Beast to delete mutant data from the computers, while others destroy the hard copies. Meanwhile, Jubilee wakes up in another room, where Henry Peter Gyrick interrogates her about the Sentinel fight at the mall. Bolivar Trask then walks in, arguing with Gyrick about capturing a mutant so soon and the slow progress on the Sentinels. At the Mutant Control Agency's base, Wolverine, Storm, Beast, and Morph are ambushed by Sentinels while trying to escape after destroying mutant data. Beast is captured, and Morph is seemingly killed. Despite Wolverine's urge to go back for his teammates, the X-Men retreat to the mansion. Tensions flare between Cyclops and Wolverine until Jean Grey intervenes. She revealed that Beast was alive, but Morph didn't survive. Furious, Wolverine storms out, but not before ripping the roof off of Cyclops' car to make it a convertible. Beast is jailed and refuses to cooperate with Gyrick's interrogation. The US president later appears on TV, denouncing the X-Men's attack on the base and justifying the use of Sentinels. Cyclops tracks down Wolverine and urged him to locate the Sentinel base, which Wolverine agrees to do. The president orders Gyrick to halt the mutant registration program and also questions the X-Men's motives for attacking the base. Gyrick, enraged, leaves and gets a call from Jubilee's foster father. Cyclops visits Jubilee's foster parents and tells them that she may have been kidnapped by by the Sentinels. Her father, however, orders Cyclops to leave, revealing he'd call Gyrick if anyone came asking about Jubilee. As Cyclops leaves, a Sentinel attacks him, but Cyclops damages it enough that it flies off to return to its base, unaware that the X-Men's Blackbird is tracking it. At the Sentinel base, where Jubilee is held captive, Gyrick informs Trask of their plans to move the Sentinel program overseas, since government support has been withdrawn and funding might be cut. Just then, the damaged Sentinel crashes into the base's power generator, causing a blackout and giving Jubilee a chance to escape. She nearly gets caught by Sentinels again before the X-Men arrive and destroy them. Gyrick and Trask manage to flee during the battle, but the X-Men rescue Jubilee and bring her back to the mansion. Later, she visits her foster parents and informs them she's moving to the Xavier Institute with the X-Men. She returns to the mansion while Scott struggles with the decision to leave Beast and Morph behind. Jean reassures him that he made the best decision possible in the moment. The Final Decision, Season 1, Episode 13. Magneto takes his hostage, Senator Kelly, to the hull of a rusted ship. Kelly had been a pretty vocal anti-mutant politician, and Magneto was more or less done with this guy. So now he wanted to kill him and incite a war between humans and mutants. A war that Magneto believed mutants would win. However, a group of plastic Sentinels attacks Magneto and captures Kelly. Magneto fights back using the ship's metal as his weapons, but the Sentinels overpower him and leave him for dead. The X-Men, who were searching for Kelly, find Magneto severely injured and bring him back to the mansion for recovery. Meanwhile, the Sentinels deliver Kelly to Bolivar Trask and Master Mold. Now President of the United States, Kelly orders the Sentinels to control the mutants. But when a Sentinel disobeys Trask's orders, Master Mold reveals he is now in charge, and plans to replace the brains of the world's leaders with computers. After Professor X probes Gambit's mind for clues, the X-Men locate Henry Peter Gyrick, who reveals Master Mold's deception and his plan to take control of the world's governments. The X-Men head to the Sentinel base, and as a part of their strategy, they draw out most of the robots. Storm, Rogue, and Jubilee engage the Sentinels to keep them occupied. The rest of the team sneaks underground to infiltrate the base, but runs into more Sentinels. Gambit and Wolverine hold them off, giving the others a chance to advance. Inside, Master Mold tells Trask that he believes humans and mutants are the same, and he must protect humanity from itself. Cyclops and Jean Grey find Kelly and lead him out of the base. Professor X flies the Blackbird, loaded with explosives, into Master Mold, who crashes through the roof of the base. Magneto shields the jet from Sentinel attacks. The mutants escape before the jet explodes. The X-Men regroup and return to their base with Kelly. Kelly later makes a statement in which he acknowledged the mutant race's potential to help humanity. Beast is released from prison, and Scott proposes to Jean during a picnic. But Sinister was watching the couple through a hidden camera. Yes, he was just waiting to make his next move. Sanctuary Part 1, Season 4, Episode 6. Magneto kidnaps astronauts and crashes into the UN. Oh yes, always one to like an audience. He also makes a televised announcement about a new mutant sanctuary on Asteroid M, where mutants can live in peace, away from humans. Professor X watches the speech with a heavy heart, and feels that he has failed to bring peace between humans and mutants. Meanwhile, Gambit begins to question whether the X-Men's efforts are worth it, and considers joining Magneto on the asteroid. I mean, if you were in Gambit's position, you may have felt the same. Anyway, concerned about Magneto's intentions, Professor X speaks with President Kelly. Then, along with Beast and Gambit, he goes to meet Magneto, who was getting ready to send a group of mutants to Asteroid M. Magneto joins them and they head to Genosha, where mutants are still being captured and forced into slave labor. On the island, the X-Men trio, Magneto and his followers, and the Acolytes clash with a group of Sentinels. Afterward, Fabian Cortez proposes killing all humans, but Magneto decides to free the captive mutants and take everyone to Asteroid M. On the asteroid, Magneto has a brush with an attack from a laser satellite and assumes it's an unprovoked strike on mutants. But he soon learns it was in response to a missile launch from the asteroid. Professor X encounters his ex-girlfriend Amelia Vought, but you know what? Ms. Vought dismisses him coldly. Anyway, Magneto discusses that Cortez launched the missile, but realizes he relies on Cortez's powers. Cortez betrays Magneto and ejects the Master of Magnetism into space in a capsule after falsely accusing the Professor and his team of assassinating their presumed enemy. Sanctuary Part 2, Season 4, Episode 7. After Fabian Cortez falsely blames the X-Men for killing the Master of Magnetism, they're hunted by the Acolytes and other mutants on Asteroid M. You have to understand that Magneto was the de facto overlord on Asteroid M, and his presumed killers would not have it easy. Gambit holds off their pursuers while the rest of the team escapes on a shuttle and returns to Earth. Gambit's beau, Rogue, worries about him, but Professor X assures her that he's still alive, albeit a prisoner. Beast says they can return to the asteroid once he's finished outfitting the Blackbird with Shi'ar tech, tech. Meanwhile, Cortez seizes control of Asteroid M. The X-Men hold a funeral for Magneto before embarking on a mission to rescue Gambit. Cortez was now in command of the asteroid and threatened Earth. Suspicious of Cortez, Amelia Vaught investigates the X-Men's alleged involvement in Magneto's death and finds that the security tape from the time of Magneto's death is missing. As the X-Men reach Asteroid M, Beast begins disarming the nuclear missiles while Rogue and Wolverine search for Gambit. Amelia Vaught uncovers the video evidence proving Cortez's betrayal and shows it to the mutants aboard the asteroid. However, Magneto had survived and was present on Earth because he had crash-landed here in the middle of a desert. Sustained by Earth's magnetic field, Magneto returns to Asteroid M and disarms its missiles. In the ensuing chaos, Magneto kills Cortez and destroys the asteroid. The mutants manage to escape back to Earth, but it's later revealed that Apocalypse rescued Cortez from Magneto's wrath at the last moment.
With your help, we're gonna save the life of Charles Xavier.
One Man's Worth Part 1. In 1959, Bishop battles Nimrod until Storm destroys the robot. And all this was happening before a young Charles Xavier who was there to witness the scene. By now, he was a student wanting to become a doctor and had no idea that he would go on to become Professor X, the man who would assemble the X-Men and lead them to a path of glory. He was super confused about why robots from the future were after him, but in his bewilderment, Xavier accidentally triggered an explosion and died. You see, Nimrod had been sent by Master Mold to kill the professor, so that the X-Men would never happen. In the future, Forge detects a disturbance in the time stream and alerts Bishop and Shard. In the present, Xavier, Storm, and Wolverine are having a picnic when an explosion rewrites the timeline. This creates the Age of Apocalypse, a world where Xavier died young and the X-Men were never formed. In this reality, Storm and Wolverine are married and fight amidst the ruins of New York City. Magneto leads a group of mutant rebels who are in a fierce struggle against the Avengers, who have become the agents of Apocalypse in this twisted reality. After the battle between the rebels and the Avengers, Bishop and Shard arrive from the future to seek help from the X-Men. However, they realize that they're in an alternate universe and need to go further back in time to trace the anomaly. Their mission is to stop Trevor Fitzroy, an agent of Master Mold who has disrupted the time stream. They recruit Wolverine and Storm, then travel back to 1959 to confront Fitzroy. In 1959, they meet young Charles Xavier, who reads Bishop's mind and learns they're from the future. At a coffee shop, they face a racist man who becomes enraged at Wolverine and Storm holding hands. This was '59. Racism was at its peak, and a white man and a black woman holding hands wasn't something everyone could digest. A fight breaks out, and a frightened Xavier flees just as Nimrod arrives from the future. Bishop, Shard, Storm, and Wolverine fight Nimrod and manage to defeat him, but lose track of Fitzroy, whose bomb explodes after being triggered by Xavier.
It's too late for him! Jump!
One Man's Worth Part 2. After the explosion at the college where young Charles Xavier was hiding, Wolverine, Shard, Storm, and Bishop decide to travel back in time again to prevent Xavier's death and stop the Age of Apocalypse from happening. Before they can, they're attacked by racists. After the skirmish, Wolverine loses all hope and asks Bishop to take him back to his own timeline. However, Storm convinces him to stay. Bishop worries that Xavier's death might have altered his timeline, which is confirmed when they return to 2055 and find Master Mold in control. And on top of that, Forge was looking more robotic than before. Forge refuses to let them use his time machine, and the group fights a robot that intrudes on them. Shard persuades Forge to send them back to 1959, but before they can travel, Nimrod kills Shard and Forge. Meanwhile, Trevor Fitzroy and Bantam are now with Master Mold, where Fitzroy overhears plans to kill him once the robots are done with him. With this knowledge, Fitzroy decides to help the time-traveling mutants escape the Enforcers. He gives them a holographic message to show his past self in 1959. Back in 1959, after Xavier flees the diner, he meets Bishop, who finally convinces Xavier that people are after his life. The group then goes to the college, where they see Fitzroy and Nimrod planting the bomb. Bishop shows Fitzroy the message from his future self, where the future Fitzroy was asking this version not to let Xavier die, and that's how the professor is saved. Wolverine throws the bomb to a safe distance and no one gets hurt. In the present day, Xavier, Wolverine, and Storm enjoy a peaceful picnic in New York City. So yeah, a happy ending.
Up the therapy session, but your hour is up.
Cold Comfort, Season 3, Episode 15. Iceman breaks into a government facility. Naturally, Professor X sends the X-Men to intercept their former teammate. On the way, they talk about Iceman's history with the team and how he was valuable. However, it seems that he's fallen to the dark side. But did he really? Anyway, the X-Men find and subdue Iceman, only to bring him back to the mansion, where he's placed in a detention cell. Iceman explains to Beast that he left the X-Men after Polaris, his then-girlfriend, was hurt on a mission. They lived together until he found their house wrecked and Polaris missing. Subsequently, he traced her to the government facility where the X-Men captured him. Feeling sorry for Iceman, Jubilee frees him and they return to the facility to find Polaris. Once there, X-Factor knocks them out. The X-Men arrive to find Iceman and Jubilee after they escape their bonds. They meet X-Factor again, and Forge reveals the facility is his team's government-sponsored training grounds. Polaris explains to Iceman that she joined the team in secret and fell in love with Havoc. The X-Men and Iceman return to the mansion, where Professor X invites Iceman to rejoin the team. Iceman declines the offer and leaves. Descent, Season 5, Episode 13. In 1888, in London, Jack the Ripper terrorized the city. James Xavier was tasked by Scotland Yard to stop the serial killer, and he suspected that the killer was Nathaniel Essex, a respected scientist, but the police did not believe him. He reveals that he's been chasing Essex for 30 years, and recalls how their troubles began. Back then, James and Essex were friends who often debated Charles Darwin's theories of evolution. Essex fully supported them, while James was more skeptical. At the time, James was treating Essex's wife, Rebecca Gray, who was gravely ill, but Essex was also experimenting on his wife with forbidden treatments. He had been gathering mutants to study and demonstrate to other scientists, like Darwin, though his work was dismissed as unimpressive. That year, James Xavier was pulled out of his flashback by news of another body found. Upon investigation, he discovered a mutated corpse, which pretty much shocked him. He could now recall how Essex experimented on himself to gain powers and pale chalk-white skin. In another flashback, Essex was improving his wife Rebecca's health with his treatments, and rumors about his experiments spread. Essex took James to his basement, where he had mutants locked up. Horrified, James fought Essex, and during their struggle, the mutants escaped. One of them, Thomas Flannery, accidentally set fire to a building with his powers. A riot broke out, but James redirected the mob's anger from Flannery to Essex. Essex fled home, but Rebecca was shocked by his transformation. Essex tried to get her to leave with him, but she was too frightened, so she fled alone. In the same year, Jack the Ripper returned to Essex, who now called himself Mr. Sinister, and it was revealed that Sinister created Jack. James and the police stormed Sinister's base, but he had already left for America, leaving behind a book. In the present day, Professor X keeps that book on his nightstand. Graduation Day, Season 5, Episode 14. At a press conference, Henry Peter Gyrick promotes a mutant containment bill to spread anti-mutant sentiment. Despite being ill from opposing this legislation, Professor X arrives to challenge Gyrick. Gyrick believes that the professor was a mutant and shot the professor with an energy disruptor. This caused the professor's power to go haywire, and he found himself in a coma. The X-Men rushed him onto the Blackbird, where Beast found him struggling to stay alive. Cyclops then reached out to Moira McTaggart, but she pretty much gave up and told the X-Men that Xavier's condition was beyond her help. The team then considered reaching out to Lilandra Naramani, the Shi'ar leader, and one of Xavier's partners, but they had no idea about how to contact her. On the other hand, the shooting of Xavier ignited mutant uprisings worldwide, and Magneto is chosen to lead the mutants' anger against humanity. Morph, posing as Xavier, tries to quell the riots through a broadcast, but his efforts fail. To stop Xavier's dream from dying, the X-Men decide to confront Magneto on Genosha. Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Wolverine head to the now mutant-controlled island. The three X-Men reach Genosha and engage Magneto, but the fight stops when Magneto learns of Xavier's critical condition. Jean suggests Magneto use his powers to amplify Xavier's psychic abilities so they can reach Lilandra. At first, Magneto kind of hesitated, because he did not wish to abandon his newfound mutant army, but out of respect for Xavier, he agreed. They return to the mansion, where Magneto helps Xavier send a psychic message to Lilandra. Xavier wakes up from his coma and bids farewell to the team. Lilandra arrives, saying Xavier can survive, but only with the Shi'ar's advanced care. She departs with Xavier, leaving the X-Men and Magneto behind on Earth. And that's where the original show left off. Many of these episodes, like One Man's Worth Parts 1 and 2, Sanctuary, Descent, and The Final Decision, were suggested as essential viewing by the X-Men 97 showrunner. So I guess this would have helped you jog your memory. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone!